The public knows that the woman had been suffering in silence for decades while still smiling. Just before her death, she spoke out only to reveal terrifying secrets. What you are about to watch will send cold shivers down your spine as we delve into Mother Teresa's heartbreaking ordeal and terrifying secrets that have shaken the world to its foundation. Mother Teresa, also known as Saint Teresa of Calcutta, was a Catholic nun and missionary who dedicated her life to serving India's poorest of the poor. She founded the Missionaries of Charity in 1950, a religious congregation dedicated to caring for the sick, the hungry, the homeless, and the dying. She and her sisters opened orphanages, hospices, and clinics, providing compassionate care and support to those in need throughout India, Africa, America, and other parts of the world. Her life was marked by charity, love, care, compassion, self-denial, altruism, and fervent devotion to God. She denied herself marriage and all forms of recognition, including the monetary rewards accompanying the Nobel Peace Prize she won in 1979. She directed that the money be donated to care for people in the Missionaries of Charity's orphanages and elderly homes. But was Mother Teresa's life always perfect both spiritually and physically? Certainly, a woman of global impact and influence was perceived as perfect without any affliction. The devil has always tried to undermine people of good virtue like Mother Teresa by afflicting her faith, which has caused people to doubt her faith and works and question if she was flawless, as most of her writings were revealed after her death. Well, it turns out there is more to what we all knew and heard about her. What are the terrifying revelations we just found out about her? Keep watching. Mother Teresa is one of the devoted saints of the past who experienced the dark night of the soul. The dark night of the soul is a spiritual hypothesis that refers to a period of severe inner struggle, doubt, and feelings of spiritual emptiness or separation from God. It is often associated with the Spanish mystic and poet Saint John of the Cross, who wrote about his own experiences of spiritual desolation in his poem, The Dark Night. Saint Francis of Assisi, the beloved saint known for his deep love of nature, simplicity, and devotion to God, is said to have experienced his own dark night of the soul. Although historical records do not provide a detailed account of this experience, it is believed that Saint Francis experienced periods of spiritual desolation and inner struggle in his quest for a closer relationship with God. During these dark nights, Saint Francis may have felt abandoned, doubtful, or spiritually dry. He endured these challenges with faith, perseverance, and prayer, ultimately emerging from them with a deeper understanding of God's love and a stronger commitment to his spiritual path. Well, will it be the same with Mother Teresa? Mother Teresa's dark night of the soul refers to a period of spiritual desolation she experienced during which she felt an extreme sense of spiritual emptiness and doubt in her faith. This inner struggle lasted for decades, during which she continued her humanitarian work despite feeling disconnected from the presence of God. Her perseverance through this profound spiritual trial has made her an enduring symbol of faith and resilience. This period of Mother Teresa's life lasted for decades. It was characterized by internal struggles, hopelessness, and desolation as she grappled with doubts about God's existence, the meaning of her faith, and whether her actions were helping humanity. Her private letters and conversations with her confessors later revealed these inner turmoils and desperation. Mother Teresa died on the 5th of September, 1997. Since then, new information has begun to surface concerning the details of her interior life. This information surprised and even shocked many who had lived close to her for years and thought they knew her well. For it now emerges that, in marked contrast to the shining external radiance of Mother's presence among us, her inner world, the unseen, hidden places of her mind and heart, were for many years, and to our great bewilderment, caverns of a seeming emptiness, zones of almost total darkness. No wonder she could exclaim in a letter written once to a priest, "If I ever become a saint, I will surely be one of darkness." This darkness was not an experience of depression or despair, rather, it was the shadow cast in her soul by the overwhelming light of God's presence. God was utterly present yet utterly hidden. His intimate, purifying love was experienced as a devastating absence and, even on occasion, as a complete abandonment. On the 17th of May 1964, she described the state of her soul with these astonishing words: "To be in love and yet not to love, to live by faith and yet not to believe, to spend myself and yet be in total darkness." And again, some years earlier on the 28th of February 1957, she wrote, there is so much contradiction in my soul, such deep longing for God, so deep that it is painful, continual suffering, and yet not wanted by God, repulsed, empty, no faith, no love, no zeal, and heaven means nothing. It looks like an empty place, yet this torturing longing for God. Apart from the revelations concerning the night that Mother Teresa endured for so long, one other remarkable secret that has come to light since she died in 1997 is a secret that she tried for years to keep hidden with characteristic modesty. As well as being a woman of enormous practical kindness, Mother Teresa also received a series of mystical visions and expressions. She experienced these graces immediately or almost immediately before beginning her work in the slums for the poorest of the poor. Jesus asked her directly and most vividly to change her life utterly and requested that she establish a new religious society or community of nuns. I want Indian nuns, missionaries of charity, who would be my fire of love amongst the poor, the sick, the dying, and the little children. In 1946, Mother Teresa wrote, "In all my prayers and holy communions, he is continually asking, 'Wilt thou refuse?'" Frightened at the thought of what was being asked of her and conscious of her littleness and weakness, Mother Teresa replied, "My own Jesus, what you ask is beyond me. I can hardly understand half of the things you want. I am unworthy. I am sinful. I am weak." But by way of response to these words, at some point later in the interchange between them, she hears Jesus saying to her, "You are, I know, the most incapable person, weak and sinful, but just because you are that, I want to use you for my glory. Wilt thou refuse?" And again, "Fear not. It is I who am asking you to do this for me. Fear not even if the whole world is against you, laughs at you, your companions and superiors look down on you. Fear not. It is I, in you, with you, for you." Mother Teresa felt a profound sense of emptiness and loneliness during her darkest moments, even as she cared for the poor and sick in Kolkata. She described feeling like she was living in a state of darkness and that God was distant or absent from her life. Despite these struggles, Mother Teresa continued with her persistent work and relentless trust in God's plan. The reality of being chosen for this particular work in this particular way was a matter of continual astonishment to Mother Teresa. She remarked on 3 or 4 occasions, in this age, more than in any other, God wants to use nothing. Nothing, I discovered, was a word she often liked to use. On another occasion, she declared, "Father Paul, when you discover you're nothing, rejoice." Here, as such, is the accent of joy, the note of liberation in speaking. What Mother Teresa means by being nothing is in no way connected to the cold imprisonment of self-mistrust or what is now low self-esteem. Mother Teresa says people are drawn to God when they see my strong faith. Is this not deceiving people? More than once in her private writings, Mother Teresa put this question to herself and with manifest bewilderment. The root cause of her bewilderment was the marked contrast between, on the one hand, the fountain or river of blessing which seemed to pour out through her to others from God, and on the other hand, the utter coldness, darkness, and aridity of her interior spirit. On one occasion, Mother Teresa confessed, "When I open my mouth to speak to the sisters and people about God and God's work, it brings them light, joy, and courage, but I get nothing out of it. Inside, it is all dark." Mother Teresa often felt cut off from God. It seems that for many years she remained confused about her inner darkness. On the 8th of November 1961, she wrote, "I don't know what is happening to me." Earlier that same year, she expressed her turmoil, saying, "My very life seems so contradictory." No wonder she once found herself praying, "Jesus, don't let my soul be deceived, nor let me deceive anyone." In her deep poverty of spirit, she still trusted absolutely in God's love for her. Though she endured many trials and periods of darkness, she always believed she was his little one, his spouse, and his beloved. In June 1983, while seriously ill in the hospital, she composed a meditation where she wrote, "Jesus, I love with my whole heart, with my whole being. I have given him all, even my sins. Has espoused me to himself in tenderness and love." Mother Teresa's experience of the dark night of the soul has been seen as a testament to her profound faith and her willingness to endure suffering for the sake of others. It serves as a reminder that even the most devoted and saintly individuals can face periods of doubt and spiritual crisis. Her journey through this darkness exemplifies perseverance, faith, and trust in God's mysterious ways, even amid profound suffering and uncertainty. Despite her inner struggles, she continued serving others with love and compassion, demonstrating the strength of her character and her commitment to her calling. Yet questions remain: why would a woman who so passionately loved God go through all that? Even during her life, people found flaws in her work. Why was she emotionally and psychologically tortured by endless controversies? Mother Teresa, one of the most influential women of the 20th century, had a commanding presence despite her small stature. She was a global icon, with her humanitarian work spanning continents from Asia to America and Africa. However, was she truly perfect? Did she genuinely have the best intentions for those under her care? Dr. Jack Preger, a British doctor who treated the poor for free starting in 1977, encountered Mother Teresa's work through a BBC documentary. Moved by her generosity and sacrifice, he began working with her. However, he soon discovered that much of her reputation might have been exaggerated. According to Dr. Preger, great things should have been done in terms of modern medical care at her facilities. He testified that there was no proper medical care in Mother Teresa's ashram. Patients had shaved heads, there were no chairs, just stretcher beds similar to those used during World War I. The rooms were overcrowded, with 40 to 60 men and women packed into one space, and injection needles were repeatedly used on multiple people despite becoming dull. Painkillers were not available for those in severe pain, such as a young woman with terrible burns who could not even receive basic relief. Dr. Preger smuggled morphine into the facility to help her, but the defense was always, "We are not a medical order." Despite receiving millions in donations, Mother Teresa did not provide modern medical care in the houses she administered. One 15-year-old boy had a simple kidney complaint that worsened because he did not receive antibiotics. He eventually needed surgery, but she refused to take him to the hospital, stating, "If we do it for one, we must do it for everyone." This boy, who could have survived with a routine operation, suffered unnecessarily. Mother Teresa had enough funds to run a modern hospital for these patients, but she did not. When questioned about her methods, she explained, "We are not social workers. The work is only a means to put our love for Christ into action." Even though her organization received medical supplies as donations, they were often unused. Was this a reflection of the spiritual silence she endured? Mary Johnson, a former missionary who worked with Mother Teresa for 20 years, eventually left the organization and wrote a book about her reasons. She described the difficult lives of the nuns in the Missionaries of Charity. They were instructed to live in poverty, often sent to beg for donations, while Mother Teresa had access to ample funds. The nuns were only given 2 saris, a traditional Indian garment, and were not allowed to bathe daily. They were prohibited from going out alone, watching television, reading newspapers, or speaking to anyone outside the ashram, including their own families. Communication with the outside world was restricted to one monthly letter home. These accounts, while not confirmed as absolute truths, came from those who had worked closely with Mother Teresa. As the years of darkness came and went, Mother Teresa began to see her spiritual struggles as something different from the dark night of the soul described by John of the Cross and Thérèse of Lisieux. She came to believe that it was an essential part of her calling as a missionary of charity. Even as a teenager in Skopje, she had longed to serve the poor as a missionary nun. She spent Sundays roaming the slums around the Loreto compound, bringing relief to the poor. After receiving her call within a call, she dedicated the rest of her life to giving love to the poor, sick, lonely, and dying, voluntarily taking on their poverty as her own. She believed Christ demanded this of her, and as she often said, when she ministered to the poor, she was ministering to him. Ministering to Christ in his distressing disguise inevitably drew her closer to his suffering. Since she shared in the suffering of the people she served, she discerned her inner poverty as a share in Christ's suffering. She remembered the oath she made in 1942, never to deny God anything he asked of her, and she realized that loyalty to this oath meant embracing God's withdrawal. We must know exactly what is in our yes to God. Yes means surrendering totally, fully, without counting the cost. For Teresa, it meant accepting the burden of Christ's passion. When she finally gained insight into the nature of her darkness, she saw it as an inevitable part of her calling. She even came to say that she loved the darkness because it was a very, very small part, of Jesus' darkness and pain on earth. Mother Teresa was wholly focused on her mission of serving the poorest of the poor. Endowed with a kind heart and deep human empathy, she was never aloof. She had a lively sense of humor and found great joy in the exuberance of the young women who joined her congregation to work with the poor. In 1966, she visited a group of aspiring missionaries of charity just before setting off on a train journey. She wrote of them, "The Epiphany aspirants, 34 in number, young, healthy, full of zeal, make the house vibrate with laughter. I have had little chance to enjoy their company, but I can hear them even in the train, as my heart and mind are very close to them." Throughout her life, Mother Teresa was always the first to catch a joke or find the humor in any given situation. Writing to a friend on one occasion, from whom it would appear she hoped to receive a letter soon, she made the following complaint: "When I write regularly, the sisters say I am in the first class, if less, second and third class. When I neglect them, they say I am in 0 class. I think I will also put you in 0 class if you don't write again." Something of Mother Teresa's sharp wit and great good humor is apparent in a comment she made during a talk delivered in 1981. "Once I was asked, 'What will you do when you are not Mother General anymore?' I said, 'I am first class in cleaning toilets and drains.'" Mother Teresa narrated a story in Rome, at the convent at Dono di Maria. The story she narrated was not really a story in any ordinary sense of the word. It was, in fact, the account of a dream she had many years before. As she expressed the details of the dream, Mother Teresa didn't laugh outright at any stage, but there was laughter in her eyes from start to finish. Here is the dream as she told it. "One night during the first months of my work in the slums of Kolkata, I had a dream. It was like a vision. All of a sudden, I found myself at the gates of paradise, and I was delighted, filled with joy. But just as I was about to walk through the gates, St. Peter came out and blocked my way. 'You can't come in here,' he said. 'There are no slums up here.' I was furious with Peter, and I immediately told him, 'All right, I will go back, but I'm going to return here, Peter, and I will fill this heaven of yours with all my people from the slums.' So funny." This took place on the 26th of October, 1994. But how did Mother Teresa become a saint? Was she worthy of the title? Was she even canonized? The legacy of Mother Teresa is profound and enduring. She inspired countless individuals worldwide to follow in her footsteps and make a difference in the lives of those in need. One of her most significant contributions was her commitment to serving those marginalized and forgotten by society. She and her sisters ministered to people living in extreme poverty, providing food, shelter, medical care, and love to those abandoned or rejected. Mother Teresa believed that every person deserved dignity and respect regardless of their circumstances, and she worked tirelessly to alleviate their suffering. Her work extended beyond physical care to encompass spiritual nourishment. She believed that the greatest poverty in the world was not material deprivation but spiritual emptiness and loneliness. Through her example of selfless service and compassion, Mother Teresa inspired others to cultivate a deeper sense of empathy and kindness towards their fellow human beings. She emphasized the importance of love, forgiveness, and humility in building a more compassionate and harmonious world. Mother Teresa's legacy also includes her advocacy for peace and justice on a global scale. As a Nobel Peace Prize laureate, she spoke out against war, violence, and injustice, calling for reconciliation and understanding among nations and religions. Mother Teresa believed that true peace could only be achieved through love and compassion, and she devoted her life to embodying these principles. Encouraged individuals to work together for the common good. In addition to her humanitarian work and advocacy efforts, Mother Teresa's legacy lives on through the Missionaries of Charity, which continues to serve the poor and needy in more than 130 countries worldwide. The organization runs homes for the sick, disabled, elderly, and homeless, as well as orphanages, schools, and soup kitchens. Mother Teresa's example has inspired countless individuals to volunteer their time and resources to help those in need, creating a ripple effect of kindness and generosity that transcends borders and cultures. Mother Teresa passed away on September 5, 1997, but her legacy is a beacon of hope and compassion in a world often plagued by suffering and division. Her life serves as a reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness can make a significant difference in the lives of others. Mother Teresa's legacy challenges us to look beyond ourselves and reach out to those most vulnerable and in need, embodying the true spirit of service and love she exemplified throughout her life. Teresa's final years were ones in which poor health and physical suffering became her daily burden. Just a few months before her death, suffering from heart failure and pneumonia, she lay in a hospital bed unable to speak because of the bronchial tube that had been inserted to help her breathe. She tried to communicate with her caretakers by writing on slips of paper but was too weak to do so. Finally, mustering all her strength, she could scrawl, "I want Jesus." Mass was celebrated in her hospital room, and she was able to take a small amount of the consecrated wine. Given her decades of living without a sense of Christ's presence, it's not too much to conclude that she also meant she wanted the darkness of God's withdrawal to end. She'd spent over 50 years reliving Christ's passion. If it was God's will that she suffered, so be it, but she longed for it to end. In 1962, in the second decade of her sense of abandonment, Teresa wrote something that anticipated her later understanding of her vocation to suffer the passion of Christ. "If I ever become a saint, I will surely be one of darkness. I will continually be absent from heaven to light the light of those in darkness on earth." This is an extraordinary thing because it suggests that Mother Teresa was willing to relinquish the joy of heaven for the sake of those of us who also lie awake in the night wondering where God has gone. No one would deny that the diminutive nun who served Christ in his distressing disguise for over 50 years deserved some rest, but Teresa thought otherwise. Her lifelong dedication to serving God in his people was, so far as she was concerned, only an apprenticeship for her real work after she died. The canonization of Mother Teresa on September 4, 2016, was a momentous occasion that marked the climax of a long and meticulous process that recognized her extraordinary life of service and devotion to the poor and marginalized. She was born Agnes Gongsha Bohakshu in Skopje, Macedonia, in 1910. Mother Teresa felt a calling to serve others from a young age. At 18, she joined the Loreto Sisters and traveled to India, where she took her final vows and became known as Sister Teresa. Mother Teresa's journey to sainthood began with her tireless work in the slums of Kolkata, India, where she founded the Missionaries of Charity in 1950. The organization focused on providing care and support to the poorest of the poor, including the sick, orphaned, and dying. Mother Teresa's selfless dedication to serving others earned her international recognition and numerous awards, including the Nobel Peace Prize in 1979. Despite her fame and accolades, Mother Teresa remained humble and focused on her mission of love and compassion. She once said, "Not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love." This simple yet profound philosophy guided her work and inspired countless others to follow in her footsteps. Mother Teresa's canonization procedure began shortly after she died in 1997. The Catholic Church carefully examined her life, writings, and works to ensure that she met the criteria for sainthood. One key requirement for canonization is the verification of miracles attributed to the candidate's intercession. In Mother Teresa's case, 2 miracles were officially recognized: the healing of a tumor in an Indian woman and the healing of a Brazilian man with multiple brain abscesses. On September 4, 2016, Pope Francis declared Mother Teresa a saint during a solemn ceremony at the Vatican. The canonization of Mother Teresa was a cause for celebration not only for Catholics but for people of all faiths and backgrounds who admired her unwavering commitment to serving the poor and vulnerable. Saint Teresa of Kolkata, as she is now known, continues to inspire millions around the world with her example of love, compassion, and selflessness. The canonization of Mother Teresa was a fitting tribute to a remarkable woman whose life embodied the values of faith, service, and humility. By recognizing her as a saint, the Catholic Church honored her legacy and provided a shining example for future generations to emulate. Saint Teresa of Kolkata's message of love and compassion remains as relevant today as it was during her lifetime, reminding us of the power of kindness and selflessness in making the world a better place. Thanks for watching this video. While you're still here, check out the other videos you see on your screen.